right, and yeah, good evening and welcome. So today we want to look at the third and final assignment of our course 3711. And just to do a quick rundown of this whole assignment, you've got this question here. You're given a book instance of this first question where we are going to discuss just general, object-oriented principles. And then question 2 takes us to reflection. Question 3, we are going to be doing validation with regular expressions. Question 4, concurrency with queue threads. That's the plan for this whole assignment. And for question 1, we are going to be looking at this book class here. All right. So for this question here that we are looking at, which is question 1, it says the book class is burdened with 2 additional responsibilities: obtain book info to get user input on book details via the console, save book to save the state of a book to an instance to a file. Then you've got redesign the book class so that the concepts or process currently included in it is achieved using 3 different classes: the book class to represent a book writer class, which saves the state of a book, and a graphical user interface, book input, which allows users to enter book information to create book instances, which should also be saved to a file using book writer. You can decide when book instances should be saved. So that's the first question here. Looking at this is a common question, and as you realize when we do past exam preparation classes, that usually if the standard is kept that way, your question 1 is normally this question, like the way it is right now. You're given a UML class diagram and you have to fix it, or you are given a scenario and you have to draw a UML class diagram. So this all talks about, just general OOP principles. How do you design a good solution, applying design patterns? Usually for these types of questions, the basic design patterns we apply is the serializer pattern and sometimes the factory method pattern. But in this case, though, they are spoon feeding you in terms of everything you should do. So we just follow exactly what they say. But we are going to discuss that in detail and figure out and realize that even if they had not told you what to do, like they may do in exams, you still should be able to figure out that this is exactly what you need to do. So let's go back to the book class. Now, speaking of general OOP principles, which is something we're going to look into in more detail when we look at exam preparation classes, a class should only have one responsibility. So usually whenever you've got something that reads from a file, this should be a class on its own. Whenever you've got something that writes to a file, this should be a class on its own. And everything that just represents a book here, which is all these other get and set functions, that should also become a class on its own. So these 2 responsibilities here, this is just an application of the serializer design pattern, and which we are going to discuss later. But the serializer design pattern is one of the easiest ones to understand because it doesn't have a lot of things going on, right? Let's see what's going on here. Let me just respond to Alicia here. All right, so the serializer pattern, if we actually talk about it right now, it simply says if you've got an object, or let's say this is your class, right? And you want to serialize or read this from an external device, whether it's a file or you're reading it from XML, which is the deserialization process. You need to introduce a class that's going to be, doing that reading. So let's just call that some reader. And if you want to serialize or take the information in your object and write that to an external device, whether it's a file or you are serializing it to XML, you need to have a class that does that for you. That's the application of the serializer design pattern. And these 2 classes, we will have an association relationship with your object, in both instances. So that's how you draw it. It's just arrows coming from your reader to your object or from your writer to your object because your reader or writer do know about your object. And that's the serializer design pattern. It's that easy. So coming back to this book class, we are saying that since we've got to read from somewhere, this has to become a class. And since we've got to write to somewhere, this also has to become a class. So that has been done for you already, which is what you're going to do in these three instances. Now, the book class in itself is very simple. It's just a class with getters and setters. There's nothing much going on in this question, which makes it a perfect example to discuss the next thing which we need to talk about, which is reflection in question 2. But just coming back here, it's just a book class. It doesn't say anything. Yeah, Spa says I don't hear any audio. So try and check your audio settings. Just make sure that your speakers are set to the right one. I don't know if you're using a mobile device or a PC, but sometimes Zoom doesn't select your default speaker. So just make sure that you've connected to the right speaker. Okay, all right, so let's continue. So coming back to where I was, yeah, so serializer pattern and the book class is nothing but a class with get and set functions, which is just the simplest class you can ever do because it's actually not doing anything. It's just a class with nothing else. So it does simplify your code because you don't have to worry about your class having to do some sort of processing, and now you've got all these other things to worry about. So that should yeah, simplify your life a bit. Now, coming back to sorry, certain things just getting in my way here. Sorry about this. And just minimize this thing. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So coming back to who is joining? Okay, people get used to this. All right. To this section here, your book class is a very simple class, getters and setters, nothing else. Your book writer class is going to save your instance to a file. From our previous assignment, we talked about how to write to XML. In this case, you can do anything. If you wanna do XML still for this question, feel free to do that. If you wanna do just like a simple text file, comma separated values, again, anything sensible. It just means that we should be able to read that information. If you can do comma separation per line, whatever you feel or you wanna do, you're free. But my recommendation, obviously, is to make your life as simple as possible because you've got other things to worry about. So don't spend too much time trying to do XML and all of that. Just do a simple text file. But if you are keen on doing XML and you can do it quickly and you understand how to do it, then yeah, sure, go for it. There's no problem there. And I'll also even help you if you get stuck. Then you've got your GUI, which is something I don't normally do because I want people to be creative, do your own graphical user interface. All you want to do here is a user interface which allows you to enter this information, the title, authors, and remember authors, it's more than one, then the ISBN number and the publication date. So whichever way you want to do your user interface, feel free. Just think about how you would create a book that is many authors. That's all. Just like what buttons do you want to see? What widgets do you want to use? Just think and come up with something that allows you to do that. So here they say it allows users to enter book information to create book instances, which should also be saved to a file using book writer. You can decide when book instances should be saved. Now, this question does say instance or instances, which means I don't know if you can just do one book instance or you can do many book instances. But the safe way of doing it is just to allow your user interface to create more than one book instances. Yeah, more than one book instance. So you can just have like many books and the user can keep on creating books. That way it's safer. But again, if you want to do just one book, probably it's fine. But I would go with many. All right, so that's what we need to do. Now, this solution here shouldn't be too difficult to do because especially question 1, when it comes to just creating your book instance, it's obviously a widgets application. So I'm just going to go with the Q widget. Here, I'm going to go COS3711 class solution. Let me just do this solution assignment 3. Yeah, let me just do it like this. Assignment 3. Let me save it in. Let's do it. Let's put it here. Okay. Next, see make. That's fine. Now go with the Q widget here. Don't generate form because we want to build our user interface from scratch. Next, next, and then I've got my application. So the first class that I'm going to do is my book class, which is just a book. And now if I want to do many books, you've got two options, and let's talk about them, right? So you can introduce a book list class if you want, which is where you store your books, which is the same thing we did in some other question where we had in our previous assignment, I actually forgot that assignment. I don't even remember what we were doing. But anyway, yeah, you can have a book list class, which is a list of your books, or just a queue list of your books in your widget. We'll see how that goes. But the first thing you want to do, obviously, is let's just have a book instance. So a new class. This one is going to be book. Next, finish. Now, your book class is going to look like this, right? Which means title, authors, ISBN, publication date. And then you've got your constructor, which takes all of those things. And then you've got your set title, your set functions for everything here. I think set title, authors, set ISBN. Yeah. And then your get functions for everything that is sitting here. So it's a very, very simple class. So let's quickly do that in our class. So if you are using an older version of Qt, just Control V to paste your classes here. This one just puts this for me already. So yeah, nothing to do there. So here, let's just increase our font a little bit here so that you can see. We want to obviously include QString. Then we need QString list. We also need QDate for publication date. Then here, we've got QString title. We've got QString authors, ISBN, and then publication date. Okay. And then our constructor here, as it is in the diagram, takes a QString title, then QString list, authors, QString ISBN, and QDate publication date. That's our constructor. That's what it looks like. Then obviously we see you can sometimes, if you right click here, I saw sometimes that it can actually create your getters and setters for you if you are feeling lazy. I don't know where I saw that, but it's something that you can do in batch somewhere. I don't know. I forgot, but I saw it somewhere. Anyway, let me not waste time here. So you've got obviously your set title, void set title SP diagram, QString T. It's also sometimes good to get used to writing the code because you know exactly what you're doing. If you use this tool too much, you might not learn some of the basic things which you still have to address in exams. So it's not a bad habit to just get used to doing everything. Set authors, QString list A, set ISBN, QString I, then set publication date, QDate P. Then you've got your get functions. So you've got QString get title, which does nothing. We've got QString list get authors, make this constant, and then Q string get, sorry, ISBN. Again, make that constant, and then Q date, get publication date. Okay, there we go. So now we've got all our functions according to our diagram. Q string list there, it's correct now. And we have to go and obviously put the implementations for these guys. I'm just going to go and add definitions in book.cpp. Okay. Oh, why did it do just one? I thought it was going to do everything. Okay, anyway. So for our book class, we're going to set our title to T. We're going to set our authors to A. We're going to set our ISBN to I, and then our publication date to P, like that. That's our constructor. As easy as it gets. Then our title. Sorry. Okay, let's go add definition there. This one sets our title to T. That's it. This one sets our authors. Okay, this one. It's a very boring thing to do. What did I do? I clicked something. I don't even know what I clicked. But anyway. Okay. Okay. Publication date. I keep clicking things. Okay. Get title retains the title. Get authors retains the authors. Get ISBN retains the ISBN. And this one. Okay, there we go. That should be our class, right? It's as simple as that. You can just build to see if we've made any errors. Any questions here? Anybody? Is it all clear? All following? I am under the assumption that we are comfortable at this stage, just creating a class. Okay. Now let's look at the next part, which is going to take this book instance and save that to a file, which is the book writer class, which saves a book, which saves the state of a book instance in a file. Okay, so a book writer is a serializer class, which again, you get used to these things. I think it's not the first time we are doing a class like this in the assignments we've done. But if essentially you just want a class that can receive a book instance, just one in this case, and writes it to a file. So let's just go book writer, next, finish. Now, book writer is going to, there are different ways you can do this. Sometimes others can just go with a Boolean and just go write like that. And then you give this function a book and where to write it like that. That's like one way you can sort of like do it here. So you can just go, okay. And then you can also just do that. Yeah, let's just get those off the way. So that's like one way you can do it. Just receive a book and write it to a file. Someone might be, so here's where it gets tricky. Your writer can receive a book, write that to a file, and receive another book instance, and keep on appending those book instances to a file. So in that case, you are saying you give your writer one book at a time, and then your book writer just takes this book, appends it to this file. So that's like sort of like one way you can do it if you want, assuming that you're going to be writing many book instances to one file, or you could just do one instance, like it just receives a book, writes it to a file, and it's just that one book. So the reason why I'm saying that is because your user interface here, from the way it's explained, it looks like it should be able to create just more than one book. Yeah. So there are different ways you can do that and juggle around your logic. Another way is you could just give your writer a list of books, and your writer just writes all those books to this file. So yeah, I'll leave you guys to think about it. Let's say you decide to give this book writer one book at a time, and it has to go and append to an existing file. It may trigger some questions like, what if I want to restart, like reset the file, which I think I wouldn't cover. I think you'd be overthinking. But in that sense, think about how you're going to use this class, right? Like if I'm going to give this class one book at a time, do I continuously have to give it the path? You can do it like, again like that, like it takes this book and just goes and appends to this path, which is whatever you give it. Or sometimes you can use a different logic, which is you give your book writer a path when you instantiate it. So you make an instance of a book writer and you give it the path. So you do it once, right? So you do it like that. Let's just say I comment this out. That's one way you can do it. So you give your writer a path, and then your write function simply keeps writing to whatever path you would have used to instantiate your book. So yeah, that's one way you can do it, and so on and so on. So whichever way you can decide. Let me see if I can just do it simpler and do it like this for now. But again, feel free to choose anyway, because I'm here to help you if you go whichever way you take. Now let's go to our book writer class here, which is now where we need to write to a file. So obviously we need to create a file using that path. We need to open the file. So normally you go if file dot open, you specify y. So you go write only. You can also go text. And I think you can do something like let's see. I'm looking for append. So this append here means I'm going to, whatever you are giving this, whatever you're writing to this file, it's going to just append to existing text. So that's like one way you can do it if you choose to do one book at a time. So you can just say append to the existing file. If it says incomplete type, that means I have to go and hash include it. But I'll do that later. Okay, so if it doesn't open, I can return false, so that whoever is calling this function can know that this didn't go well. If it opens, then here I can write to my file. So to do that, you need a queue text stream here, which you give the file that you've created. I think we've done this before, so you should like know how to do that. And then you can just write your file by just going stream, and then you put whatever you want to put in your file. So in this case, if I go like with a very simple format, I'll just go b dot get title, with a comma, and so on and so on. So I'm just change this to, yeah, to include book. Okay. And again, just, yeah, keep going. So I get the title, b dot get authors. That's a queue string list. I can just go to join those authors and put maybe a colon in between so that I can separate between authors and normal attributes. And then I put a comma and then, or comma space, whichever way you want. And then I can write b dot get ISBN. I think I'm gonna put ISBN here, whichever way you want. Yeah, b dot get ISBN. Then put a comma. Then get the authors. Then put a comma. Then get the publication date dot to string. And when you save it, when you call the to string function of date, you can specify the format. So I can go, I want to go day /month /year, like that, so that when I read, it's easy for me to convert from date back to, from the string back to the actual date. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's everything. And then I can just put a new line at the end. So, sorry. Okay. There we go. So, yeah. And after this, so I need to, yeah, I can just close the file, I think, when I'm done. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's like one way you can do it. So this will just receive a book instance and it just goes and appends it to an existing file and it closes the file and it returns true, like that. Otherwise, if it fails to open the file, returns false. So I can leave my book writer like this. Yeah, that's it. Now, the next thing you may want to do also is your GUI, which is where you get the book information from the user. And again, in your graphical user interface, now, let me be clear here. That's your widget, right? Here they said, create a graphical user interface class called book input, right here, which means when I made my new project, I shouldn't have gone with widget as the name of my class. I could have gone with a different class name, and I should have done that here at this stage where it says header file, source file, generate form. So I could have gone here with, sorry, not there. Ah, okay, it's fine. So you go there, you name here. So you say I want a widget, and then you say I want my class to be book input, like that. Then your class is going to be called book input. I didn't do that. So mine is widget, but that should be my book input class, which should then be my graphical user interface class. So just take note, because then it might be tricky for you to then try and change it after the fact. If you want to do it still, you can just go to your widget, Control Shift R, or right click, then refactor, then rename somewhere. I don't know, there's a rename thing somewhere. And I can simply call it here, actually, yeah, book input there, that's fine. Or sometimes if you rename this file here to book input, sometimes it asks you if you want to also change the class. Would you like to rename these files as well? You can say yes. And then sometimes it says, do you also want to rename the class, whatever, but you can change those things easily. I'm going to leave mine as widget, but that's my user interface. Now, in my widget, this is where I need to get the book information from the user. Let's agree that we're going to be making a lot of book instances, right? So design your user interface in a way that allows you to get book information for one book, and then another one, so you can have like a form with your attributes, and then an add button. You click add, it clears the form, adds that book. You can enter another one, click add, and you can just keep clicking that button, and you can create as many books as you want. So And for the authors, you can figure out a way of getting the authors from the user. You don't know how many, but the user needs to be able to enter as many authors as they want. So whether you're going to have a Q input dialog that says add author, because remember, it's just a name. So don't overcomplicate a user interface. We just need a name of an author. Or you can go, please enter authors, comma, separate them in this line edit, whichever way you want. But at the end of the day, we just want to be able to get many authors from the user. So I will hold up on my user interface, let you guys create yours, because I know when I do mine, everybody just checks that. And now every solution looks the same, which is not good. But anyway, what you could also do if you want is create a list of books here. I'll preferably, you should make that a class by itself. But for now, you can then have a queue list of type book. And you put your books here. So whenever the user creates a new book, you just put it into this list here. And obviously, you should include it. Now, one of the most common questions is, when do I use pointers? And to be honest, most of the stuff that we do in this course is easier if you stick to pointers, except for the actual list. You don't want a pointer of pointers. We don't want to go that far. We never go that far. So whenever you make a list, it's never a pointer, pretty much. But for most things that we do, I would say you get less headaches if you just get used to using pointers. And I'm saying this without having to explain a lot of things. And given where your assignment is going, question 2, reflection, and so on, you're going to have to use pointers anyway. And I'll explain maybe as we go why you would have wanted to use pointers. I could get away for question 1 without using a pointer, but for question 2, I have to use pointers. And maybe we could do it that way, but I don't want you guys to then go through the headache of question 1 is non-pointers, question 2, now everything changes to a pointer. So maybe your life is simpler if you just get used to using pointers. So you can make a queue list of books, which is your list of books. That's your pointers in there. Or better than this, you can have a class book list, which is just a list of books. And that class is easy to do because all you do here is just go a new class. I can call this class book list, finish. This class is easy because all you need to do is inherit from a queue list, which includes queue list. I should include your book, of course. And then your book list class can simply be like that. That's it. That's all you need to do. It doesn't need to be anything else. So then you've got a list of books, which is a class by itself. And in your widget, you don't have to do this. You can just include your book list. Sorry, book list. And then for my list of books, I just go book list books like that. Because it's inheriting from a queue list, therefore it's actually easier. So figure out which way you want to do things. I don't think for this assignment, honestly, I don't think it matters that much because the only classes they said you must do is 3 of them, which is book, book writer, and book input. I don't think they mentioned any other classes. So if you want to do it exactly as the way it's explained, then just put a queue list here. If you don't want to do another class, just put a queue list here of type book, and you can store your books in this list. And you don't have to make another class, right? Like this. Now, in our widgets, this is where we need to create book instances. And you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to create a slot. Another question is, do we make slots public or private? In this case, it doesn't matter because these slots are only going to be used in this class. So they can be private, they can be public. If you are not sure, then always make them public. because we are going to other topics where your slots have to be public. So if you're like, when should I make it public? When do I make it private? Just always make your slots public. It doesn't matter. So I can have a slot here void add book, which is going to add books for me. So I can go here. And in this function, I'm going to create one book. So I'm going to go book B, who is here. So I can go, the title is COS3711 programming. The authors are Q string list. What do I have here? Can I use? Okay, let me do it like this, actually. Let's just go Q string list authors and let's put some authors here. The frame, let's have maybe like that. Okay, those are authors. So let's put our authors here. Okay, and then ISBN, some number. Oh, sorry. Okay, that's our ISBN and publication date. Let's just go, just get the current date. Okay, that's our book. Now, we want to, obviously, this would be coming from your user interface, and then we want to take this book and edit to a list of books. We can go books.append B. Obviously, it expects a pointer. So let me just do it like that. So let's go B here equals new book like that. And then let's put our B in our list. And that's it. Then you can show a message that says book has been added. That's it. Now in my constructor, I'm going to do a push button. Okay. Sorry, hash include. Okay. Q push button. Okay, like that. Okay, let's just go hash include Q from layout. Okay. And then let's maybe here have our button. What am I clicking on here? btn equals, okay, let's have our layouts, home layout. Okay, that's layouts, add row widget. Let's try that. Set layout, layout. Okay, and then let's do our connects. So we want to connect our button to our slot. Clicked, and then our slot is widget and book. Okay, like that. Okay, perfect. So let's do a message. Let's show a message here. Sorry. Where am I? Okay, 0. Okay. We show that. All right. So that should put a book in our list. That's fine. And then the next thing we need to do is to be able to use our writer. So obviously in your widgets, you want to be able to call your writer and write that book. Include book writer. There you go. I can have my book writer here. Okay. And then what I'm going to do was just for demonstration purposes you should have, actually, no, let's just do it like this. Let's just have void write book. So you see now in my writer here, I'm just doing one book at a time. But if you're going to do a list, you can also just have, you know, just give it a queue list of books. Um, and then your path like that. So this way, if you want to do it like that, that means you can just receive a list of books and write all of them to a file. That's another way you can do it. Uh, Again, there's just be creative around how you want to solve your problems. Again, it would look exactly the same. Um, this function could actually just call this function in a loop. Or you could do it differently. I don't know. Just think how you want to do it and so on. So here I could loop through that. If I open, then this I can do there, and I can go for each book be inside my books. Do that. Maybe that's simpler. I don't know. Then here this becomes, if it's a pointer, becomes like that. So here I'm just getting a list of books. Open my file. I don't have to do that. There. And just go through each book and just write all of them to my file, close it, return true, done. Again, you don't need two functions. I'm just showing you like stuff. Yeah, so going back to my widgets, I need your add book function is there. You can have like another slot that writes a book if you want. Refactor a definition. And this, now it depends. You obviously need to get the path. Where do you want to write it? Use a file dialog that allows the user to select where they want to write it to, which is not difficult. Just include the file dialog here. Should include queue file dialog, not that one. Geez, file dialog there. And then you can use this to get the path from the user. So you can just go queue string path equals queue file dialog, get save file name. And then you give that your title, your starting directory, the future. Yeah, I think that's it. That's it. Yeah, so you can just go, it's always a text file. So I can just go start.txt. So it's always going to be a text file. Choose where, whatever you write in there. That's fine. That's how you get the path from the user. Now I can use my writer. So I can go writer dot write. If I go write books, then I can just give this thing my books and my path. And it should go and write my books. Or if I want to write one book at a time, let's just test it here. Let's go writer dot write book. You give it this book here, and maybe the path test.txt. Let's not do it like that. Let's see if it's going to keep on. Oh, this one takes just the book, so I need to dereference this pointer. Okay, I want to test both functions. But otherwise, yeah, that's basically what you're doing for question number one. It's making a book instance. Once you make your user interface, use your user interface to make a book instance. Your instance should go to some sort of a list and write those to a file. And yeah, that's it. You can have some logic around, do you want to give the user a button that says now you can write to a file? I could do that here probably. Let's just go and draw here. Let's have another button here. btn write books. I'm when I have both. Okay. And then let's do that with my btn right. Goes to write book or books, whatever. Cool. Let's see if this makes a book and writes it to a file. Um, and that's pretty much question one. So spend some time just thinking about the user interface that you want. It shouldn't be complicated, really. It should be a very simple user interface that allows you to make a book, save it to a file, and you will not be able to. We are reading books here. No, we are not reading books from a file. Obtain book info is is now your user interface. So I've got my very minimal user interface. They add book, read book. So if I add book here, it should make a book. And again, because I have what do you call it? Because I'm doing this here. Just want to see if it's created, it's doing it. I have to find now where this solution is. Where did I put it? Okay, go to projects. Should be able to find it in here. This one, assignment 3. I didn't select the path, so it should go into the debug folder. There it is, our test file. Ah, there we go. There we have our, where did, where did it go? Oh, sorry, I've got another screen. Don't save that. There is our text with our title, ISBN, our authors, colon separated, and then our publication date. What I want to test though is if I do it again, does it actually append? Where is it? Let's go add book. Done. And let's open our test file here. Ah, there you go. So it just keeps on appending to the existing file as you go, which is fine. Or we could do another one. Let's test the other one, which is add books. So if you go write books, this one now says, where do you want to write? Oh, I think that's the default name that you put there. Okay. Um, write all dot text. Let's save there and let's go back to our folder. There it is. Let's see if we've got our two books. There we go. So both functions are doing exactly the same thing, only that the first one does it one at a time. This one just does them one big bang in the list. So you can do it whichever way you want to do it. That's basically question one there. So quick recap, what you're doing is make a book class. There's no being creative here. It is exactly what it is. All right. It looks exactly like this. Then your book writer writes books to a file. I don't know how you do it, but you've got options. You can also put that in the constructor so that you do it once when you instantiate your book writer, and then you just have a write function. Your write function can also be a static function because you don't need to instantiate it. There's nothing under private here. All those are options around your book writer. But at the end of the day, all it needs to do is receive a book, write it to a file. Whichever format you choose to use, feel free, XML or whatever, because we are not reading these books back into our program. So feel free to go to serialize your books whichever way you want. You can use DOM, you can use QXML Stream Writer, whatever you want to do, write it out and it's serialized, done. Then that's it. And then you've got your user interface, which is responsible for getting books from the user. So make a very minimal, clean user interface that allows you to enter all these details, the name, the title of the book, the publication date, the authors. And once you've got that information, make book instances. And if you want, just write them to a file. You don't even need you actually don't even need to put these books in a list. You can just receive them, make an instance, push it out straight to your file. But if I'm using a pointer, then you have to delete your pointers. So that's always a good thing. So whenever you use pointers, don't forget, delete your pointers. Q delete all books. So you should always clean up if you use any pointers anywhere in your program. So yeah, I think in this case, you don't even need this list. You can just make a book and write it out to a file because that's all we are doing here. But otherwise, yeah, that's a brief rundown of question one, what it looks like, what you're expected to do, and what you should be doing. Please, if you haven't already, start your solution, start creating your user interface, start doing question one. It's easier for me to help you, right now in this time. If you all come for help on the last day of the assignment, there's only 24 hours in a day. So please, let's try and start our solutions today. Do question one, get it off the way, done, dusted, and it's done. So yeah, let's try as much as we can to start our solutions early. There's a lot we need to discuss in this assignment. Question one was a breeze. It's easy. It's a class doing nothing much. So do it. Next lesson, we're going to be looking at reflection. We didn't do reflection properly. In our last assignment, we touched briefly on reflection because we needed to extract class names. This question requires us to actually go deep into reflection. So we are going to talk about reflection in a little bit more detail, understand what it is, and understand how to use meta objects and properties to access members of our book instances, which means everything changes from a book to a key object. We are going to introduce properties, and then we're going to access those properties when writing those books to a file. That's going to be question two for you. So you don't want to start question two before you are done with question one. So please just make sure that you start question one, you start working on your user interface. Your user interface should not take much time because it shouldn't be complicated. Your book class, again, it's not complicated. Your book writer, again, same thing. So question one, please just invest 3, 4, 5 hours of your day and get it done. Do it. If you get stuck, send me a Telegram message. I'll remote in and I will help you. Usually, I don't need to record this. I use Chrome Remote Desktop to remote into your machines whenever I'm helping you with debugging. So if you can, just please set it up for yourself, and then just when I'm ready, send me the code, and we'll see where you get stuck. So please start now, so that when you're done with question one, you know it's done. You're never going back to question one again. You start from question two, and we just move on like that. But tomorrow, or I don't know whenever our next class is, we are going to be looking at question two, which is going to be reflection. And the reflection, this question requires us to modify our book class, which means you don't want to go to question two with an incomplete question one. All right, that's it. So I will see you guys in the next one. Good attendance. Well done to everyone who is here. I think there's one person who didn't make it. I'm gonna see how best to assist